Simplified Chaos, Episode 11.
Life is beautiful and full of chaos.
And it can get slightly out of hand if that shit's not tamed.
We're here to share how to simplify the little things to start leading a more purposeful life.
This is Simplified Chaos.
Hi, wonderful friends. Welcome back, or hello if you are new, and welcome to me and my husband's podcast. I am Jillian, and I'm with Nick, my husband.
What's going on, folks?
I'm a little hyped up on caffeine, so don't mind me.
It's been a 3 coffee morning for me, so let's get at it.
Yay!
What are we covering today, Jilly?
Today's episode is all about seasons of life, and I am really excited about this topic because we all go through it, and we're just going to share typically where we are in our seasons of life, and just maybe to help you get a better understanding of where you are, and just to let that chaos in and see where it guides you, and just, plan it and just accordingly and just embrace it. So I'm excited to talk about, where we are now and how it's changed, and maybe help you guys think about where you are in your season of life.
Lots of changes in the last year for us, and can't wait to dive into that. But before we get into that, do you hear that? Do you hear it?
Lucille's not crying.
No, she's not. She's not with us today, but I hear some gratitude.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you grateful for, Jill? Switching it up on you.
Ah, you are.
Yeah.
I am grateful for our date night on Friday night.
That was a good date night.
Because the place that we went to was in Baltimore, and it's called Gunther and Company. So shout out to Gunther and Company. We sat at the bar, and it's like a really long, huge, oval-shaped bar, and they have great oysters. So we started off with some fresh oysters, which I haven't had since pre-pregnancy. So I was like, watering at the mouth. Like,
you went at them like a bull. You saw that red, and you were like,
And it's an aphrodisiac, too. So,
well, yeah.
But, I mean, it was just like the perfect date night. Like, not only was the food good, and the service was amazing, and the cocktails were delicious, but when they brought out, so our birthdays were not that long ago, and they're a week apart, so they brought out their homemade ice cream cake for us, and when the cake came out at the same time, if anybody knows Labyrinth and David Bowie, the star of Labyrinth, they played that song, The Power of the Babe, in the restaurant the same time they're bringing out her cake, and I'm just like freaking out. I'm like, no way, no effing way they're playing this song right now. And I'm looking around to see if anybody else notices that they're playing this song, because I'm geeking out and I'm like dancing and singing, and no one noticed but me.
Well, that's because no normal adult has watched The Labyrinth in the last 30 years.
I don't know about that. I think they're a lot more.
I watched it for the first time last year, and I don't get the hype, but I'll let you have your thing here.
Jareth, I mean, David Bowie, his junk is beautiful, and his mullet is fantastic. It's just, he's a majestic being.
Did he pull the sock trick in that one?
I think he just pumped it up.
Okay.
I don't know, like little air pump in there.
He pulled the Marky Mark.
But anyway, like food, company, our conversation was amazing, and then just freaking Labyrinth.
Yeah, I mean, the people next to us know all about our sex lives too now.
Did we talk a lot about our sex life?
At the beginning. I don't think they were paying attention, but it was fun.
I'm not embarrassed.
I'm not either. I would have been like, Jill, quiet down. We can't talk about this.
And I do tend to get louder when I drink, but I only had 2 cocktails, so I was okay.
Yeah, but before she had her first oyster, she was already feeling it.
I know. I hadn't eaten in a couple hours before then. But anyway, so fun. I am truly grateful for our date night at Gunther and Company. It was a magical night.
It was good.
It was.
I really enjoyed myself.
So what about you? I'm curious.
So I am grateful for family CPAs.
Family CPAs?
Certified Public Accountants.
Oh, yes. I know where this is
Shout out to cousin.
Hey, cousin Kara.
No, it's great. I mean, I used to do TurboTax, and it just sucks. And I think we learned a couple of lessons this go around with your cousin, especially about getting receipts for donations.
We were really bad at that.
Yeah, we were bad at that.
So
we donated a lot this year, got 0 evidence of it, and so
we're the worst.
Yeah. But, she gave us a lot of good information so that we're going to make some adjustments this year, and obviously we're still kind of going through things in our house, and I'm sure there's going to be more things that we're going to donate. So we've got our ducks in a row here. We know what we're doing.
This is another thing they should teach in school. Like, how to get your tax
but you know
stuff
what?
together.
I knew better and
But it's
was
still,
just
like,
really
everybody does
lazy
it.
about it this year.
I know, but it doesn't help to, like, teach those life skills that you're going to need every single year. And I never learned about tax stuff.
Right.
And if I did, it was probably an elective and it was a joke. It was fun and no one really took it seriously. But even in college,
taxation's theft.
Well, okay.
I know. I'm going
I
there.
know. I should have brought up the education thing.
But going to the tax thing, we're going to a fundraiser tonight to support cystic fibrosis.
We are.
And your sister was really nice enough to buy our tickets at $75 a pop. She needs to save the receipt.
Yes,
That's a write-off for next year. So
Randy know.
Tax lesson right there. I'm bringing it all back here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm truly grateful for your cousin for
She's
doing
teaching
our
us a
taxes
lot.
every year. We're
Absolutely.
learning a lot, but it's also just a burden that we don't have to worry about. We just have to worry about collecting the documents, scanning them, and sending them over to her, and she takes care of the rest.
True chat.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kara. We love you.
So let's jump into the seasons of life.
Yay.
I think this is going to be a fun one. I think this is going to be one where a lot of our audience is going to learn a lot about themselves. And obviously, I think, the whole point of our podcast is to help people learn about themselves, to make adjustments in life, and to obviously simplify life's chaos. So
And I think we learn a lot just by talking about it on the podcast episode.
Sure. Even pre-planning the podcast, we're asking each other questions to get ourselves to think. And it really does force us to think about where we are in life, where we were, where we're going. And I think that's a lot of what we're going to cover today. But before we dive into that, Jill, I wanted to ask you, how would you define or describe seasons of life?
Well, I believe just as the earth has seasons, I think our own life cycle has its own seasons. And I know transformation is a natural part of life. So I feel like seasons of life is an important component of our evolution. And I know my hands are out right now. I look like I'm flying. I don't know why my hands are out right now. I never talk with my hands, but I look like T-Rex or something. So I just
good
think,
radio right here. You can see what Jill's doing.
Just painting a picture of what I look like. I feel like I look like kind of some kind of dinosaur. I just think it's life's rhythms and changes, and I don't know. It's just like the world. Like, there's changes in the seasons, and we have to flow with it naturally, and not naturally and effortlessly. But I feel like if we go with the changes, there's less chaos.
Right.
But if we resist the changes and fight against them, then that's when struggle and stress and negativity and all those nasty things that can make life pretty sad and depressing come in. I don't know if that was a good description or not, but that's just how I feel about it.
No, and typically for these kind of questions, I would probably do some research and figure it out, but I wanted to get an organic definition for me, what I think it is. And what I came up with is very short. It's basically understanding your environment and making adjustments.
That's way more concise than mine was. I rambled on for a while.
But that's how I feel is, your environment is always changing, whether it's the home you live in, the people you surround yourself with, your job, family events or whatever. That environment is always changing. It's never going to be status quo. And the ability to make adjustments to your environment, I think, is what helps people thrive, and it helps them embrace, quote unquote, the season of life that they're in. So that was just kind of my off the head, kind of giving it a deep thought, Jack Handy, deep thoughts. And that's what I came up with.
And I feel like if you think, and I've thought this in the past, if you feel like your life hasn't changed or you don't feel like you're changing, I feel like then you're not really aware of your surroundings as carefully as you could be.
Right.
Because the world is constantly changing. Our environment is constantly changing. Every day is different. Every minute is different. So if we're not aware of our surroundings and present in every single day, then we're missing that opportunity to change.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of distractions, and ultimately a lot of people don't really take time, daily. And it doesn't have to be daily, but, at least often to just reflect where you are in life. How are things going? What can you do differently to make things better? And actually have that true reflection of, what's going on in my life right now and how can I make adjustments to that? And I think if people really sat down and just thought about it for 10 minutes, you can be surprised about what you feel like you're doing wrong and how you can improve. And then you go out and you do it. And you make those improvements and you're living a better life.
I feel like if you're not aware of even how your body feels, then you got to slow your life down.
Yeah.
Like there is a huge distraction from what's really important, and you need to, recalibrate or recalculate and, look at your life and figure out, what do I need to change so I'm aware of how I'm feeling and thinking. And I think that's almost like a daily thing. I think we do it daily. We just don't sit down and, say we're meditating. It's
right.
But I feel like we do that. Like it might be I know I do a lot of my reflection and just thinking of where we are in our current situation in our season of life is when I drive to work, because I have a long commute. I'm just by myself with my thoughts, and that's almost like my meditation. Scary to say I'm meditating in the car while I'm driving, but to me, that's where I get a lot of my reflection.
Mine's in the shower.
Really?
It's 5 minutes, but that's good enough for me. Like I either reflect about what's going on in my life, or I'll come up with a great idea for content for work. Like that's just how I think. And then when I'm in the car, it's usually listening to podcasts and I'm focusing on growth or sports or whatever it is I'm listening to at that point. But I think my best work's in the shower.
And I feel like more people can quote unquote meditate or think about their current, just be aware of where they are in the world. And it doesn't have to be called meditation. I feel like meditation's a very strong word. And yeah, it's just taking a little bit of time in your day to just, feel where you're at.
Yeah. And I wanted to go back because one of those things, a time when I wasn't really self-aware, and it was something that we covered in our marriage episode in episode 9, was when I was stressed and really didn't reflect on it. I was thinking, how are we going to bring money in?
You had a lot of distractions taking you away from that.
I think I could have handled that much better. I could have communicated much better with you. I should have gotten out of that job a little bit earlier than when I did. But you look back on it, it's a lesson learned. If something like that were ever to come up again, I would know how to handle that correctly.
But if you didn't go through that struggle, you never would have made that,
Absolutely.
that growth. And I feel like we've all gone through those periods of our life, and some might be in there now, where it's just so fast paced that you're not even thinking about where you are in the world. It's just, you're just doing.
Right.
You're just doing stuff, doing things, buying stuff. And you've kind of lost that sense of where you are and, what brings true meaning to you and what you want out of life. I know it sounds very cliche, but I feel like it's so true.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to wear my socks the right side way. I just realized my socks are inside out.
What is that?
I don't know. It's just a funny joke.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, so I have a question for you.
Okay, shoot.
Before we talk about our season of life, if you could describe the season of life that you're in one word, what would that word be?
So, I'm going to give this some thought here, but I have it.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
Growth.
Growth.
In the last year, I've had to do a lot of growing. This is now my third job. I guess maybe about last year and a half. This is my third job that I've had, and I've had to make some adjustments. And I'm also a new dad. Had to make some adjustments there. And so I feel like right now, personally, I'm in probably the largest growth development for myself than I've been since maybe I was in high school. I've learned a lot about myself, and I feel like I'm doing things a lot differently now. I'm being more open. I'm communicating better. And part of it is just some of the challenges of being a parent for the first time, adjusting with our season of life and what we've done and where we're at. But more importantly, when you go into a new job, you have to learn a new industry. Like I was in an IT industry before, which I knew a little.
Yeah.
I know a lot about mobile phones and stuff like that. Like I'm into that kind of technology, but I didn't know anything about like networks and how they work.
I don't know anything about that either.
Telecommunications, electronic security systems. Like I had to learn about that so that I could effectively, sell our services to other companies or to work with other companies. At the same time, I'm now in a new field where it's employee assistance programs and wellness and well-being programs.
Completely
and that's something completely new. And I'm in charge of doing content for them. So I have to learn this stuff pretty quickly and understand the message that the company wants to get across, how they want to get across it. And so I have to really get in the heads of the people is the leadership of this company so that I am conveying the message that they want their audience to have, but also provide, my background and my expertise and saying, I like your idea, but I would do things this way. So I think right now for me, it's just a rapid growth that I'm going through at this stage.
And I like thinking of, I think when we hear the term growth spurts, we always think of kids.
Yeah.
But I absolutely think everything that applies to kids applies to adults. Adults should be going through growth spurts. Sometimes they're really big, sometimes they're really small. And I think as in a relationship, when you're going through the really large growth spurts, I kind of balance out by maybe not going. Like sometimes you're going through bigger growth spurts than I am, which is kind of nice because I can kind of keep things calmer, tamer, and where there may be a lot of new chaos in your life, you're trying to balance that out where I can kind of control the other part of our personal life. So but you have a double whammy, personal growth spurts and professional growth spurts at the same time,
it's
which I never thought
on.
of. So I just want to thank you for being awesome at home still too, because that is actually, I didn't think about that.
Well, I was stuck between growth and the other one I had was resilience. But I feel like resilience was probably something a little bit earlier. Like, I think I experienced resilience in my 20s.
Yes, I would agree.
And with just kind of the things that were going on with me in my 20s. But right now, I think, the biggest thing is just that I am learning a lot, taking in a lot, and trying to apply that to my everyday life, whether it's raising Lucille, whether it's bringing those skill sets to the new job, planning for our future at the same time.
New stuff for podcasting too.
And that's, I didn't even bring that up. Yeah. I mean, this has been a whole undertaking in itself. Is okay, we want to put on a podcast, but how the fuck do you do that? Like, what does that take? And luckily in December, we had a little bit of a lull period where we really just kind of said, hey, we're doing this. And we put the pedal to the floor and we watched videos. We found out what equipment we needed. We did the research. We ordered it. And then end of December, we're like, let's do this.
Yeah, I was like,
let's give this a try.
Let's just do it, Nick.
Yeah, and we had no idea how it was going to, I feel like we're doing pretty good.
We're doing fabulous.
And you know what?
I love this.
We're going to keep doing it no matter what. Even if you guys hate it, we're going to keep doing it. No, we hope you guys love it. But, this is fun.
And that's what
and I'm really enjoying it. And I feel like, if anything, it's helping you and I communicate more and learn a little bit more about ourselves. So if it's not helping anybody else, at least it's helping us.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Growth.
But I hope we are helping you guys. I really do. What about you, Jill? How would you describe your season of life? Enough about me. Let's talk about you.
Wow. Well, it just opened my eyes to everything that you are learning. And now I'm even more grateful.
Are you reevaluating?
Yes. I'm just, there's a lot of things I didn't know
about.
I like
surprising you.
A lot of things I don't know about your professional life. And because I'm not at work with you and I don't think about the content that you have to learn. And, I just want to say how fabulous of a job you're doing at home, too. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
I think you're doing a pretty kick-ass job yourself.
I do my best. So this season of life, the word that I chose was healing.
Yeah, I can see that.
So giving birth in June, postpartum recovery.
Month 9.
Wow. So this is almost 9 months. It's been a long journey. And I was looking back, I did a blog post about the day in a life of me when it was 3 weeks postpartum. And man, I still couldn't walk that well. And it just involved feeding Lucille, feeding me, feeding Lucille, feeding me, maybe a nap, maybe not a nap.
Yeah, you didn't get very many naps.
Netflix maybe was in the swing of things. And it was just extremely slow. And I felt like I was maybe going a little bit crazy just because nobody talks about postpartum a lot and I didn't know what to expect and if what I was going through was quote unquote normal.
Well, and you were also go before postpartum.
Yes.
Even during pregnancy, you were go.
I feel like you really need to prepare your mindset if you're the type of person who's going in a bunch of directions and wants to keep active, and then all of a sudden you have a baby and it's like, holy shit, I can't do what I thought I could do before. And then you almost, I want to say you think you're doing a bad job because you're not getting as much stuff done as you were before. And you're like, dang, am I doing this right? Like, I feel like I'm unproductive. I'm not as busy as I used to be. But then I realized that some of the things that I was doing, like the busy things, really was just busy work. It really wasn't adding value to my life.
Right.
So I feel like right now, 9 months, I feel like 90% healed.
That's good.
Like
We're getting there.
There's still times I need to see somebody about my pelvic floor. I don't know if any other mom has experienced this, but man, I'm just going to say it. Like, I laugh and fart sometimes at the same time and I can't control it. And it's really hysterical. And I pee when I run and it's like, all right, I got to see someone professionally and get this thing taken care of. But I mean, sex is amazing now.
I'm back, baby.
I'm walking, I can jog, I can run, I can do everything I did before. I feel so grateful what my body has been through and that I can do all those things again. So any new mamas out there or mamas that are in the chaos of postpartum and are healing, listen to your body, appreciate your body, and just give it what it needs. I know it's hard to listen and slow things down, but man, once you listen to your body, it rewards you.
Absolutely.
So that is healing.
I like it.
For sure.
So go ahead and describe for me, a typical day for you.
Yeah, and I heard a recent podcast. It was called The Art of Simple.
Okay.
And they did a really cool episode just talking about a day in the life. It's like an inventory. And their reasoning is that once they talk about their day and reflect on a typical day, they realize a lot of truths about their life and they adjust and kind of edit accordingly if they don't like the way their day looks. And it's almost like you don't realize how much you're eating or what you're eating until you write it all down. Same
Right.
with our budgeting. Like we didn't know how we were spending until you write it all down.
Holy shit, we're spending
Yes.
that much money on date nights?
So a typical day, I wanted to see like what my life looked like now. Just to see what season of life I was in now and get a better understanding of where we are and how I can edit or change it accordingly to best fit what we need and what we value. And right now, typical day, I think it'd be a weekday since, 5 days out of the week we work. So that's majority of our week. It's majority of our time. So typically I wake up around 5 o'clock. I may wake up in the middle of the night to feed like maybe 3 o'clock. I feed Lucille.
She's anywhere between 3 and 4:30, I want to say, is when she gets up for a quick snack.
So, I'm in bed now I feel like I'm in bed by 8:30. I'm in bed by 8:30. Right? Sometimes I'm reading. Sometimes I might be so exhausted that I just pass out. So I'm in bed by 8:30, and then I may or may not wake up 2:30, 3:30, or she may sleep through the night. And then I wake up at 5, and I get ready. I leave the house probably around 6. My commute's around 40 to 45 minutes, so I get to work around 6:45, 7. I eat my breakfast. I may or may not get on Instagram and like post some things for the podcast or for social media. Well, I think most of the time I like to get it done in the morning is because I listen to podcasts on the ride to work and then I get super inspired and super motivated. And as soon as it's in my head, I want to put that nugget out to everybody else because if it inspires me, maybe that might inspire someone else. And it sets me up for the day. It's like a primer to be my best self. So podcasts kind of put me in that really good headspace for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I know everyone has their own routines. I wish I had time to like do a little workout before, but because I wake up so early, it's just not realistic for this season of life. It's not going to happen. Yeah, I'm sorry. Movement. I like to change. Yes, I changed the term workout to movement. I feel way less guilty when I say the word movement versus workout. But yeah, so as soon as I get to work, since I am sitting in the car all day, I do like to stand up. So I stand up while I'm eating breakfast. I stand up while I'm posting on Instagram. I'm doing things to prepare for the kids to come to school, and I teach second grade. And then the kids come to school and, the teaching day begins. I integrate movement time with the kids. It's almost like a typical school day. We have recess and I force the kids to go outside. I shouldn't say force. They want to go outside. Yeah. They do. But we are outside every day for 30 minutes. Even if there's snow on the ground, I know a lot of teachers aren't out there and they're like, oh no, the kids are going to get wet. And I'm just like, you know what?
The kids don't care.
The kids are going to be kids and they're so excited to go in the snow. I just make limitations. Like, all right, if you're going to throw a snowball, just throw it at a tree. Don't throw it at a person because, hey, they're working on their throwing skills. They're getting some fine motors. Like there are so many skills.
There's some fine Major League ready players out there.
But I'm that teacher that is out there, even if there's snow on the ground. And I'm monitoring and making sure nobody's getting hurt. But they may or may not get some snow and wet spots on their clothes. But they are so excited to be out there, and so am I. And we need more outdoor time for sure. So recess, the end of the day, it's around 1:55. The kids, our school day is pretty early. It's 7:30 to 1:55. So my teaching day's over at 2:45. We're allowed to leave. So come home and kind of relieve my mom. My mom's here with Lucille all day. I'm able to chat with her. And now in this season of life, my mom is getting dinner ready for us, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for her taking some of that responsibility, and she enjoys it. She loves cooking, so she likes preparing whatever we want for dinner.
Your mom is a true mom. She loves taking care of people. Like, it's really cool. And
does.
she's rubbed off on you because you're the same way.
Oh.
And your sister, too. Both of you.
So yeah, I come home and I'm chit-chatting with mom, and it's very slow paced. I'm not rushing to do anything. I may have a cup of coffee with her and just talk about my day, and she shares with me about what Lucille did during the day, and then I sit and play with Lucille. I may take her for a walk if it's nice. You know, I get the stroller out and we go for one nice long walk before it starts getting dark.
Yeah.
Or we may dance around, and I really revolve my afternoons when I come home from work around her.
That's
and
why I can't wait until it gets later so I can do those walks with you guys.
That'd be awesome.
No, I'm looking forward to that too. But go ahead, continue.
So like very, very slow afternoons after work and evenings, and we're just waiting till you get home. And when you come home, we have dinner, and we may or may not.
It's nice to be able to eat dinner with you guys again.
I know. It is. And even if I kind of start dinner, eating before you come home, it's still like you're going to be home like within 5 minutes of me starting to eat.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't wait and I'm so hungry.
See,
I'm like, I need food.
Gnawing her arm off when I get home.
But in this season of life, we don't watch TV during the week at all. There's no time for it.
There is none.
And we don't want an inner life right now. We just chill with Lucille. So she eats and we hang out with her as she plays with her toys, or just kind of rolls around the kitchen, which is hysterical to see. Man, when she crawls, it's going to be, or walks, it's going to be a whole different season of life. Yeah. And then I feel like I'm getting ready for bed. You read stories to Lucille. So 2 days out of the week, I do try to get extra movement time in. I don't pressure myself on which 2 days, but I try to say like 2 days during the week, I want to do yoga, or I might want to do a HIIT activity. It's kind of what I'm feeling.
Right.
I've been like, it's like movement a la carte. I kind of pick what I feel, what I want to do. As before, I was like very regimented. I'm going to do this one program. I'm sticking to it, and I'm very strict about it. But now I'm like, whatever I'm feeling, I do.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that you watch Lucille, and I only take maybe, I think, max 30 minutes to do a little bit extra movement. And I like it.
40.
I need that. A little bit of alone
45.
time to like fill up and sorry. Sometimes stretching takes longer.
I know.
Or the music is just so riveting. I'm like, I gotta go a little longer. These 90s jams are awesome. But so yeah, that's a day in the life for me.
So yeah, I think mine's not similar, but pretty similar. I get up around 6:30. You've already left the house, but your mom's already here watching Lucille. But usually Lucille's still sleeping, so your mom's downstairs preparing already for dinner, like making a crock pot meal or something like that. So
only on Mondays. Mondays are crock pot nights.
I know. But so then I get up, get ready, and then I'm out of the house by 7:30. Usually by that time Lucille's woken up, and I'll have a few minutes to hang out with her and just either hold her and show her how I'm getting ready, from packing my lunch and all that stuff. And then I'm on my way. I have about a 35-minute, 40-minute drive in the morning. So I'm not getting as many podcasts in as I was when I was driving to DC, but I still am getting some podcasts in. And that's really, my drives are all about podcasts, like whether it's the sports podcasts I listen to. Every now and then, if Joe Rogan has a good guest, I'll listen to that. I still have my political leaning ones that I listen to as well, but I haven't been listening to them as much.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
And I'm sorry to interrupt your day in the life inventory, but I have actually slowed down on the number of podcasts I've been listening to because I found it was almost like overload. I don't know if it was overload. I don't know if you've experienced that, but sometimes I listen to too many gurus or too many experts in a certain category, and then I overwhelm my mind with trying to.
So that's why I mix in my sports podcast, because it's not thinking. Like, that is just pure entertainment for me.
I think,
and it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and most of the time they have good guests, and if they don't, then I might forego that. but there's two political ones that I have, like 6 political ones that I really would love to listen to all the time, but I can't. Like, there's just not enough hours in the day. So there's 2 of them where one of them's only a Monday and a Friday taping, thank God, but it's like it's an hour and a half each, so that kind of takes up to a morning and evening commute.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I have like a 5-minute walk to my building too, which is actually kind of nice, so I can listen to it when I'm walking into the building. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of podcasts out there, and I say goodbye to the ones that aren't bringing me value or anything like that. Every now and then I'll still scroll through and see if there's anything interesting in those, but for the most part I've got my staples and I stick to them.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I wasn't sure if I know. So I think that's another part of Season of Life. The topics that we listen to or want to educate ourselves on have changed. Like, I listen to more parenting podcasts, but now as I'm listening to kid podcasts and parenting, I'm realizing that they're applied to adults as well. So it's just kind of synonymous to our life, and I'm learning just about how kids develop. I'm like, oh, well, this totally applies to us because we're human too.
Yeah.
We may not be a baby or a child, but this totally applies to our life. And I've slowed down on the number of podcasts I've been listening to because I realized it was like information overload. So when I drive to work, I used to bombard my commute with podcast after podcast. And now if a podcast end, I just kind of have silence in the car.
Silence.
And, wow.
Yeah, no.
To appreciate
silence
and just have time with my thoughts. And it goes back to that quote unquote meditation and being aware. Like, it has been truly valuable to me to sit in the car for 20 minutes and just think about that information I listen to and process it and think about how it applies to my life. And I've really slowed down on the podcast episodes, and I've been seeing better benefits for me. And I wasn't sure if you had experienced anything like that at all.
Yeah. And when you get into podcasting for the first time, like listening to podcasts, you find all these ones and you're like, I got to listen to them all. And then you realize that there's just not enough hours in the day. So, I mean, it's really finding the ones that bring you value. And we hope this one's one of those ones that are bringing you value. But, if it's not, that's fine too. But yeah, I mean, again, it does go with the season of life. It's like, okay, this is what I have time for. This is what I'm going to listen to. And then you move on.
Yeah. And I think it'd be fun to do a podcast episode just about the podcasts that have, contributed to our lives and,
talk a little bit about them. And,
but I'm going off the tracks. I'm so sorry to interrupt. Continue with your day in the life inventory.
And then I go to bed. No.
The end.
The end. No, so then I'm at work. My hours right now are 8:30 to 5. I'm going to go a little bit earlier after I have a little bit more time with the company. I'd love to do 7:30 to 4. Even 8 to 4:30 would be nice too, which both are available. So I just got to need to see where I'm at in that season of life when it's time to make that change. But right now at work, I have my head down. I'm learning a lot, and I have a lot of content that I need to create. So I mean, I'm at my desk pretty much all day, or going into meetings. But the coffee machine is on the other side of the building. The bathroom's a good walk, and so I'm getting up and getting some steps in during the day too.
Getting some movement in.
Yes, I'm getting some
Proud
movement
of you.
in. Yes. Then I'm home by about just before 6 o'clock, and we have dinner, and then I'll do the dishes. Yes. Jill, if she's doing her workout, I'll watch movement. Lucille, her movement. I make a lot of time for Lucille when I get home too. I probably have, after eating, I got about an hour, maybe an hour and a half with her before she's going to bed. And so I try to take in that entire time.
And I have noticed that she pays attention to you much more when I'm not around.
She does.
So it's almost a nice thing that I get a little bit alone time to get some movement in, so that way you can have some quality time and she's just focused on you. Because if she smells the nip, she knows that nipple is near. As soon as she hears me, it's like, mom, 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 even if she's not hungry. And it's almost nice that I go away for a little bit, so that way you and her can have some quality time, whether it's reading stories or playing or...
So I get her ready for bed usually, and then once she goes for her final feeding, you and I might be talking about the podcast or our days. We're having our adult time conversations, and then basically when we put her in bed, you're kind of going down to bed too. Mm-hmm. And
I'm on her schedule, sleeping.
And at that point, I'm either working on podcast stuff, I might be doing some, reading for work, trying to hone my skills. If it's just one night where I just need to watch and kind of forget something, I might put on the Caps game or maybe put on something on Netflix, either a documentary or something. I just listened to the Ted Bundy tapes, which was interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But, for the most part, I am trying to do things. And like I said, I'm in the growth season of life. And so a lot of my time after you go to bed is either working or obtaining more knowledge. And so it's very slow evenings right now for us.
So
we're not
slow
out of the
evenings.
house. We're not running around when we get home. However, we know that season of life is approaching.
Mm-hmm. But I like knowing it's coming, but at the same time, just appreciating where we are. And I'm trying to get in a habit of not saying, I can't wait for this or I can't wait for that. I can wait. And I need to stop saying that expression because I absolutely appreciate where I am and what's happening now. And I find myself saying, oh, I can't wait till she can talk. Oh, I can't wait till she's walking. And it's like, no, I can wait. I'm just going to try and slow it down and appreciate where we are. And
you have to. Because once it happens, there's no turning back.
But it's funny how we're programmed to, like, once we get one thing, we're like, okay, what's next?
Right.
Instead of
enjoying.
Let's enjoy what we have. Like, once you have one kid, when you have another kid. Then you have another kid, when you have another kid. Or if you just start dating, when you're getting married, when you're getting engaged. Like, we just need to slow the fuck down.
We do.
And it takes a lot of willpower and intention to do that because the society we live in and where we are is just, they want us to go, buy, do the next thing, get the next thing. This is cooler. It's all about what's next instead of, hey, enjoy now.
Exactly.
And I forgot to mention that I am pumping 3 times a day. So that is also sprinkled in my day.
Yeah.
And I use the old hand pump, so I'm getting some nice movement time in my little fingers here. And
Jill brings home the milk. I bring home the bacon.
Oh, that was cute.
I like it.
So I like how you said this was a season of growth for you. And I found this blog post about the 4 seasons of transformation, and I wanted to see if it kind of applied.
Okay.
So they say summer is a season for reward, celebration, and fulfillment. And that's when we had Lucille. I feel like that was definitely
when the Caps won the Stanley Cup.
Reward, celebration. So I wanted to see if it kind of aligned to the actual seasons or if we had to kind of...
Actually, that was late spring, honey.
Was it late spring? Okay, so...
But still, it's summertime.
So that was a season of reward, celebration, and fulfillment for us. So after summer, they said autumn is usually a season for survival, mistakes, and problems.
Okay.
And I didn't know if you thought that applied to our fall or if you think it was in a different time.
Survival, mistakes, and problems.
I feel like we're going to be experiencing that soon.
I think, yeah.
And I know that our listeners probably don't know what we're talking about, but there may or may not be changes. And I feel like...
We're talking about a lot of drastic changes.
I feel like we're going to be in survival mode for a little bit. I know that scares you.
Yeah. And we'll probably talk more about that in a future podcast. We like to leave a little cliffhangers out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that is certainly on the horizon. And what we're doing is we're trying to get ahead of it. And so we're planning, preparing, and making sure that we have all the information available so that we make good decisions. So, yeah.
It's almost like...
Let the chaos ensue.
I like that it says mistakes, and I feel like you totally can plan for mistakes, if that makes any sense. Like,
you can.
Planning ahead to know that there's going to be bumps in the road, but you're prepared for the chaos.
Yeah, you can't predict the future. You can only prepare yourself. And I know it's a cliche saying, and it's been in a ton of movies and stuff like that, but the information you have at hand is how you make your decisions, and learning from mistakes in the past or experience that you've had in the past so that you don't make those mistakes again. That's all you can really do. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, we're preparing for chaos. And
we're going to bring our life jacket and we're going to go on that ship. And we're going to be prepared if we go off board. But,
Can I not be Jack?
Can you? Oh, gosh. Jack is hot. Leo.
Jack died.
Don't die on me, Leo. Billy Zane.
Yeah. God, what a horrible movie.
What?
It was
I watched
so
that
bad.
movie like 3 times in the theater because I had a Leonardo DiCaprio phase.
Oh, every adolescent girl had a Leo DiCaprio phase.
Not everybody.
I would say 90%.
All right. Also, Devon Sawa. Shout out Devon Sawa, Leo.
We're getting off track again.
I know. So that was autumn. For winter, they described it as a season for reflection, hibernation, and planning.
Okay.
And I definitely think
We're definitely hibernating right now.
newborn stage, after giving birth, winter, we are definitely hibernating. We are reflecting for sure. We are planning for sure on the future.
Yeah.
And it's very slow. It's a very slow time. And
It's funny.
you have to embrace it.
Like, I am filling a lot of our hours, my hours with personal growth, but there are days where I feel like there's more things that I can be doing around the house, but at the same time, like, I can't do anything outdoors right now. It's cold as hell. I know our house needs power wash, so I'm kind of like putting together the laundry list for the springtime of things that need to get done outdoors. But yeah, I mean, there's probably some things on the indoors that we can do too. But again, we know our life's about to get a lot more hectic in the coming months, with Lucille crawling, walking, talking, and her first birthday coming up. So for me, I don't feel as guilty anymore about not doing certain things because I know that it's about to get crazy.
And they have this analogy about fall and winter. It says, while no apparently productive, it's like both of those times may not be productive to us, are in fact the times when trees send their roots deeper into the soil, regenerating for the spring to come. So even if you don't think you're doing anything or accomplishing anything, just hibernating, resting, and reflecting, you're absolutely, I think, filling yourself up for the seasons to come. And I think some of us think of those months as, oh, I'm putting on pounds because I'm not outside as much running around, or, I'm not eating as well as I usually do. But I feel like these seasons have a purpose, and we're meant to listen to the seasons and slow the fuck down to prepare for the other seasons of life that are going to be coming at us. And they may be really chaotic, and the weather will be getting nicer, and we'll be outside doing more things. So I feel like there is such a purpose for fall and winter.
What advice do you have for the people living in Florida who don't experience seasons? I'm just kidding. Don't answer that.
I have no idea. I think
I'm sorry.
I need to shout out to people who live in Florida and find out, because I don't know what it's like living somewhere where the weather is
It's going to be 60 degrees tonight. Get your sweaters. God.
But yeah, it would be interesting to hear.
I love you guys in Florida.
The perspective of people who live where there's like no seasons really. Like, what does that look like for you? Are the seasons still similar to seasons over here, or are they not? I don't know. That's a really good question though.
It is. I can't answer it though. All right. So, is there anything else we need to dive into with seasons?
No, I think we kind of described. And I encourage you guys to kind of jot down or think about what your typical day looks like to see, are you doing everything you want to do? Are the things that you are doing in your typical day, are they filling you up, or are they tearing you down? And
I'd also say compare it to what you've done in the past and see how you've changed, or see how your seasons may have changed just even in the last 6 months or a year. And then that way you can make the appropriate adjustments for the season that you're in.
And I feel like a lot of us may think that, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm not getting anything done. But if you write down what you're getting done, you're feeding yourself. You're feeding your children. You're working. You're reading. Like, you think about these little things we do all the day, and you're like, oh, I'm not doing anything. You absolutely are. Like, anything you do for yourself, for your body, self-care, like we already talked about, I feel like our day should revolve around self-care versus our job. I feel like we are being productive just taking care of ourselves and our family, and just because if you take care of yourself, you're creating that energy to ripple to everybody else, that positive energy. So I feel like write down if you don't think you're being productive, and just reevaluate what you are doing, and just commend yourself and give yourself grace that you are productive if you are taking care of yourself. And even if you're just evaluating your day now, like if you've never done that before, at least you're doing it now.
Yeah. There's no wrong time to start.
Absolutely
not. But start today. Do yourself a favor and start today, because you'll learn a lot about yourselves and be able to make adjustments much more quickly, and hopefully start embracing where you're at in life and just thriving.
And I think if you have a partner, relationship, it helps you appreciate that person more too. Like, you just talking to me about everything you're going through with work, and I honestly didn't know how much you were doing. So I feel like if you do this exercise with your partner, a significant other, it helps you appreciate your partner too, that like we are doing a lot. And if we're doing too much and we're not taking care of ourselves as well as we thought, then we need to change something.
Exactly.
And I really want to do this exercise like in another couple months and just to reevaluate what we're doing. If we need
do
to
it
make
at
any
another
changes.
Gunther and Company dinner.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
With David Bowie singing perhaps in the
Maybe-
background again.
maybe not
that would
this
be
time.
wonderful. All right.
Do you have any resources for Seasons of Life? Or we're gonna.
So I did have a podcast to listen to that gave me this idea to talk about
Gotcha.
our day in a life. So
We'll put that in the show notes.
That was, yes, Art of Simple.
Wonderful.
And I have one more resource for our quote of the day.
Let's jump into the quote of the day.
And I have
Brought to you by Jilly Koselniak.
I have no idea if I'm saying his name right, but it's spelled Zaid.
Zaid.
Zaid. And we will put
Dahhaj.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Dahhaj.
Thank you. He has an amazing inspirational Instagram with so many amazing quotes. So we will put all of his information in the show notes, and his blog is medium.com. Not small, not large, medium.com. And this is a very
Popular content site.
this is a very long quote, but I had to read it all. Like I couldn't just read a part of it.
Stay tuned for the long quote.
Oh, stop. It's not
Here we
that
go.
long. All of our pain and suffering come from trying to paddle upstream against the current of life. We suffer when we try to attach ourselves to a particular season, the person we were during that season, and the things we thought we had. The truth of the matter is that you never really possess anything. Everything in nature is constantly in flux. Life is found in yielding to the river, yielding to the seasons, and allowing the universe to take you on the adventure that it wants you to have. When we embrace every season of our lives fully and stop resisting, we become more alive.
Nice.
And yeah, I feel like that just sums it all up. And if there was any kind of take action from this episode, it's to evaluate where you are, this season of life you're in. Are you going with the stream? Or are you fighting it? Embrace it and just make it yours.
Make that shit your own.
Embrace the chaos, folks.
Yes. I think that's it for this week.
I think so too.
That was a good ending.
I feel like we need some nature sounds right now.
We might be able to insert some in.
Birds chirping, or I don't know. I was going to try and make some kind of sounds, but I might be really bad
We're
at
not
it.
going to do that. But we'd love to thank everybody for listening. Thanks for hanging out with us this week.
We are so grateful
We
for
are
you guys.
absolutely grateful, and we will talk to you again next week.
Sounds great. See you later, guys.
We want to thank everybody for listening today. Please be sure to subscribe and sign up to receive notifications so you know when the next episode is live. If you like today's episode and know someone who could benefit from the topic we covered, please share it with them. And if you have any suggestions for us or want to chime in on today's topic, you can email us at simplifiedchaospodcast@gmail.com, and that's chaos with a K, or send us a comment on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you next time.